Okay, you all, so I'm going to be showing you how to do an applique on this baby set. I've already done the bib and the gown. Now we'll be doing a burp cloth. And most of the time I purchase my blanks from either ARB blanks, which is where I purchased these from, or AJ blanks, depending on what I need. A lot of the times they have similar items on AJ blanks and ARB blanks, but sometimes they have different things and I just buy based on what I'm needing. So all of these items are from ARB blanks. I would not recommend interchanging your items. So if you buy a bib from them, from ARB blanks, I also would recommend buying your gown from ARB blanks. Sometimes the colors could vary, so I would not recommend interchanging those unless you buy them and they do match. But I always like to buy a set from the same vendor or store, and all of these have come from ARB blanks. So I'm going to be adding the same applique on this burp cloth, and I'm just going to do it in the center. So just keep on watching and I'll show you step by step on how to create an applique as such. Okay, so the first step when creating an applique is to add your heat and bond to your fabric. So this is the fabric print that I'm using, and this was purchased at Hobby Lobby. The designer is Patty Reed, and at the bottom you can see that it says Patty Reed Design. So if you're looking for it, I'm sure that you could search it, Google search it to see what store it is located at nearest to you, but I purchased it at Hobby Lobby. So what I'm going to do is cut a strip off and then apply my heat and bond. This heat and bond can be found at any craft supply store and also Walmart. And also these fabric scissors were purchased at Walmart. And I do want to say that you want to choose some scissors that are designed for fabric or that are really sharp when cutting your fabric. It just gives you a cleaner cut and keeps your fabric from fraying as much. And even if your fabric does fray, the heat and bond is used for that so that it doesn't fray after washing. So here's my fabric piece. And I like to use a towel to protect my table. Eventually I am going to get a heat press. I would recommend a heat press over the easy press because it's just better. Also, I don't like to mix and match my scissors, so for paper I do have a separate pair of scissors. And when I press my heat and bond, I do like to use copy paper so that the heat and bond does not transfer to my heat press. Then I will press for 30 seconds. And you do want to allow it to cool before peeling away the backing. and you will notice that the back is shiny. Okay. And the next step would be to hoop your stabilizer with your hoop that you're using. And because I'm making a burping cloth, I want to use the cutaway stabilizer versus the tearaway stabilizer versus the cutaway stabilizer. And I like to double up on the sheets, so I will use 2 sheets of tearaway stabilizer. And I doubled them up, and here is my mighty hoop that I will be using. If you are using a mighty hoop, you want to make sure the hook goes onto the right side into the machine. I will be using a Melco EMT16X, and the hoop is hooked on the right side. And so now that I have my stabilizer hooked and hooped, I will go ahead and apply my blank. And how I apply it, I use the floating method. As you can see, I already have the stabilizer hooped, so I will take my temporary bonding spray, and spray the surface and apply this. But first I want to be sure I have it in the right spot. Okay. And I want the long end to hang out of the machine. And you will see exactly what I'm referring to as I move over to the machine. You want to be sure that it is centered. And there are other methods to be sure that it's centered, but I just kind of eyeball it. But if you wanted to, you could fold it in half, apply heat so that it creates a crease, and then apply the first half and then apply the other half. But if you were using that method, you would flip it the opposite way. That way you could apply this half and then unfold it, apply the other half. And for this design, since I want the burp cloth to hang out, the long side to hang out, it is going to be upside down. It's going to stitch out upside down, but it's going to be right side up whenever I take it out. Now we will move over to the hoop. Okay, so we have our machine hooped with the hook. So now we're just going to make sure that the design stitches out in the right placement. So I like to trace my design. Okay, so the placement looks about right, and you just trace it one more time. Okay, so now that we are sure that the design is going to stitch in the right places, we are able to go ahead and start stitching. And I'll just show you how the long end is facing outwards because I don't want it to get caught up in the machine. And as you can see on my computer screen, the design is upside down. This is because it's going to stitch upside down, and this half of the burp cloth would be the bottom. Typically for the bib and then the gown, you would not have the design upside down unless you're placing it inside of your machine upside down, which you most likely would not do that. And if you already have your colors selected with the proper thread colors, you're able to go ahead and start stitching. And since This was the last design that I stitched out. All of my colors are already properly selected, so I will go ahead and start sewing. And to start the sewing, you would just press the green button if you're using a Melco, this button right here. And as you can see, it places the tack down stitch first. This is so that you can place your fabric onto the garment. And I do like to hold my fabric starting out, that way it doesn't move. But you want to be careful. And after it stitches the fabric down, it stops again, and it also pulls out for each applique. That way you can cut around it. You do have the option to take the hoop off of the machine. I prefer not to do that, and I just like to keep it on the machine and cut it out. And the reason why I don't like to do that is because when I was using my PE800, every time that I would take the fabric or the hoop off of the machine to cut it, it would always move the fabric around somehow, or the garment around, and it would never stitch out properly. The stitches would overlap. So I just like to keep the hoop on the machine so that the garment doesn't shift. And when you're cutting, you want to be very careful. These scissors that I use, these are the Ginger scissors, however you pronounce it. They're very sharp and have this curve to them, which makes it perfect for applique cutting. Okay, now that you have your fabric cut out, you would just go ahead and press go so you can do the other stitches. Okay, and the last step is to remove the garment from the hoop. And also cut away any jump stitches if you have them. So the tear away stabilizer allows you to just tear it away from the garment. And here is the final result. And the last step you want to do is, if you use heat and bond light, you want to take your heat press and heat the fabric, that way that the applique adheres to the garment. The last step is to, of course, take your pictures for your shop. I got this wood board at Walmart in the crafting supplies section. And here is the completed set. So it has a burp cloth, a bib, and a gown. And all of these were purchased at arblanks.com. So I hope you all have enjoyed this tutorial of me showing you how to do an applique, a monogram applique on a Melco embroidery machine. And if you would like to see more, of course, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you. Bye bye.